3, 2, 1, go. Good morning, Nightsmith. How you guys doing today? So first off, I have to apologize. I'm cheating on you already. This is my third cup of coffee. Sorry. I just couldn't stay awake this morning. So there we go. Now let's share this little doohickey around. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but my son is screaming upstairs. Share on the Facebook. Go to Nightsmith. ESDY. Yeah, and still can't spell. I've had several cups of coffee and still can't spell. What is wrong with me? Happy Tuesday, we're live. I think that's a good message. Today's Tuesday, right? I think it's Tuesday. Post. All right, and let's share this guy around. Share public. Share to page. Share. Get all this stuff up and jumping around. So, 3 people in here already. Wow. It's like you guys are looking forward to this or dedicated or something. This is kind of awesome. Actually, kind of awesome. This really is awesome. I'm so happy that I actually have people that want to start my morning with me and all that happy stuffs. All right, so and on the Twitterverse. No. No, Twitter's weird. All right, there we go. So 3 people in here. Let's see how things are going. So before we get over to the chat, let me tell you a wee bit about this morning. Connor woke up screaming. It was 6:30. Oh, and just inconsolable. So I got up. I didn't go to bed till like 1 o'clock in the morning, and he was up and down all night. So I got up, and we went out to the living room, and I sat him down on the couch and turned on Lion King, and he was loving it. And then I put him on the floor and got some toys around him. And went out downstairs, got the dogs. They came up and they were all sniffing on him and rubbing on him, and he was having a good time. So I go make my coffee, and it's the end of the world. His toy was 2.5 inches past his reach, and oh my goodness. Oh boy. So, wearing glasses today. For those of you who don't know, I'm more or less blind without them. Like, I can't even see my screen or even my microphone, which is, 10 inches away from my mouth? Yeah, it's just kind of a blurry ball. Blue. It's a blurry white ball with a red dot on it. So, oh boy. So, good news, it is beautiful out today. It is warm, it is sunny, it is not windy. Unfortunately, it looks like it's going to be the only day that's going to be like this for quite some time. So, let's pop over to the chat and get this little guy started here. right. Eileen, good morning. Good morning, Eileen. Oh, Gold Scar. You don't hear any screaming. That's great. And good morning, Joey. And good morning, Laura. Yeah, I'm blind as a bat. And I'm glad you can't hear the screaming. He was having a little meltdown upstairs just a few moments ago. According to the weather, only one day this week is under 60. Huh. Well, that is going to be nice. I do. It's been pretty crappy out recently, just kind of, cold and miserable and rainy. Just bleh. I have all this time. I want to work on my car, and I don't have a garage, so I have to do it outside. So yeah, can't really do it when it's rainy and miserable. So that's been fun. I finally have the time to do it, and weather says nope. It says spring or second winter. Sometimes it's kind of hard to tell, isn't it? Especially up here in Northeast PA. It's just Mother Nature is she's an interesting lady. Yeah, interesting lady. That's the best way to put it, I guess. So yesterday, all right. So let me switch over to the other camera here, so I could tell you what I was doing yesterday, and hopefully it's a bit of an improvement to what I had. So let's do this. By the way, I actually got my my webcam, so should be much higher quality than what it had been in recent past. So this was the SD card holder that I made on Saturday, and you can see the stitching is, oh, there we go. Stitching is pretty inconsistent. The border is kind of crappy. And here's the biggest problem. Realistically, this guy can only fit 4 SD cards. Not a very good ratio for an SD card who's supposed to hold 12. These outside pockets are about 1/8 inch too small. I did not account for the seam when I made it, and these aren't even either. So maybe if these were even, it would be a different story. But had to scrap this one. Also, these edges, while they are nice and crisp, I wasn't able to. There's not enough meat left over to bevel the edges so I can get a good burnish on it. So, Mark 1. What I'm actually going to be sending out to my brother is what I did yesterday. Mark 2. Because this first one's crap. It's just absolute junk. From the start, you can see that this one has nice burnished edges. Nice and soft and all the way around. All the way around. I left more meat on the edges so I could, bevel them and then burnish them. Which this time I used beeswax to burnish. I didn't have any gum trag. And I didn't have a beveler, but I was able to lay this on my marble slab and come in and trim it with a what you call it? This doobly-doo. All the pockets now hold SD cards. The stitch line is much more consistent. I was even able to bevel these inside pockets, which is fantastic. And I don't have these little tabs, which I thought they were going to be a great idea when I was doing it, and they turned out kind of ugly, and you get this weird pocketing effect. Not a fan. Mark 2. It's a wee bit wider, a wee bit shorter, and it just feels so much better. I mean, the stitch line is more consistent. I like how I was able to stitch all the way across the back, so it looks, much nicer. I think a much cleaner look to me. So yeah, that's what I was up doing until who knows. Went to bed at like 1:30. So I was probably down here doing this until I don't know, 12:45, 1 o'clock. Let's see. Very nice. Oh, pretty. Thank you, Lar. Very nice. That's why we call them prototypes, so we can fix the flaws. Find the flaws and fix them. You're very right, Eileen. So this one, while it was fun to make on the live stream, I cannot send this out into the world, even though it's only to my brother. I just can't. This one, even though it's not perfect, it is head and shoulders better than this guy. And I will be sending this one to my brother. And my next purchase, I believe, is going to be heavier weight leather, better needles, better thread, because the thread and the needles weren't made to mint for this hole, this size hole, the 3mm. So it was just a complete bear trying to stitch it. It took me way longer to get that done than it should have. So I'm gonna buy needles, buy thread, buy a beveling tool, an edge beveler. Probably gonna buy a groove stitcher, because the one I got I just can't get sharp or keep sharp. And I'm gonna buy some gum trag and probably a slicker. I won't get the slicker. I can make a slicker as soon as the quarantine or lockdown or whatever you want to call it is lifted. I can just make a slicker on my lathe. Actually, I made one for the lathe. There's a video of that somewhere on here. It was a prototype I did. Basically, it's just a bunch of different curves on a lathe. Anyways, so that's what I was doing yesterday. I'm very happy with it. Again, not perfect, but massive improvement. So yeah. All right, let's pop back up to the chat, see what people are doing and saying. Prototypes are learning experiences. Yes, they are. Well done. Thank you, Joey. And that's why you give them away too. Yeah, pretty much. But if they're not functional, like the dice tray, I screwed up on it pretty badly. However, it is still very functional as a dice tray. So I'm still going to be shipping that one out. This SD card holder was not functional. It just wasn't. So I can't give that away in any good conscience. I just can't. Is today Tuesday or Monday? It's got to be Tuesday. No, today's Monday, right? No, today is Tuesday. Was I on here yesterday? I don't know. I don't know where I am or what I'm doing. Let's see. So what should we talk about today, guys? I do have one topic I want to talk about, which Eileen, you were the one who brought that up to me last night, and I believe it'll be a great time management tool for people. I use it in the shop all the time. I use it when I'm in the office. Even 3 cups, I'm still yawning. Jesus. And it's a certain way to make lists. And Adam Savage, the kind of dorky guy from Mythbusters, he was the one who taught me this. It's actually in his book. Every tool is a hammer. If you're into making at all, like at all, I don't care if you're crocheting, I don't care if you're whittling dildos out of pine trees, or building cabinets. Go get that book, read that book, borrow that book. It is an absolute treasure trove of information. Now, he is more like me. He's a generalist. He doesn't specialize in any one discipline. Oh, I am much more specialized than he is because he does everything constantly. I only do 5 or 6 different things mostly. I mean, I have done a little bit of everything, but I try and limit it to just a few things. So a lot of his advice really spoke to me. But if you have problems with time management, if you have problems with wrapping your head around things, or if you have you just feel crappy because nothing you make is good enough, nothing you do is good enough, you're always screwing up, you're always failing, you're misquoting projects, read that book. It'll give you so much insight, and it is worth every penny and then some. Really. Is this turning into a book club? Ugh. It is Tuesday. Okay. Let's see. Don't know if you were streaming yesterday, but today is definitely Tuesday. I can thank Destiny for that knowledge. Well, hey, I don't care how you get your knowledge, as long as you get knowledge and it's correct. To-do lists. Already got one of the things on my list done. Door sign to indicate I'm working. Leave me be. You actually texted me that this morning, and it is adorable and cute and hilarious. Love it. So I'm actually going to be doing my to-do list. My to-do list today, actually, and I'll show you how I start it, because it goes through at least 2 iterations. So I'll talk you through every process I'm going through, and hopefully that'll demystify a few things and help organize your brain This is kind of like a mental knolling that I do for myself as often as possible, or practical. Sometimes it's not practical. Sometimes I'm only doing one thing. I know exactly what I'm doing. Go. But when I have more than one thing to occupy myself, or I'm doing a long-term project, or I have 10 projects that have to be phased, or whatever else, making lists it's not even just to-do list, it's just lists. And you can do this with any project, whether it's to be, to become a to-do list, or it's to just get your mind wrapped around a large complex project so you fully think it out, and then it's on paper, just ready for you to dive back in. And knolling is a thing that I believe is invented by some guy. Well, the guy's name was Noel, but I think he was a Lego guy, like a Lego designer or something. Anyways, the idea is to take a conglomeration of things, whatever you're working on, parts, it's great for car parts, for tools, for Legos, for anything that has more than one piece. And you just set them out in order, and you group like to like, and in any fashion that suits you best. And I do this in the shop all the time. I don't even realize I'm doing it. But you group like parts with like parts, and put them all aside so they're all even, they're all visible, and they're all in order. And that allows you to see everything all at a glance. When you do it mentally, you're even if you're not consciously doing it, you're subconsciously putting an inventory and kind of like stacking it on the side of your brain. So it's really easy to pop in and get back into that headspace, even if you're distracted for 30 seconds or whatever. So the first thing you should do is always knoll and then go make your coffee. So when you come back, your space is set up and you can sit down, have a cup of coffee, mull it over and get right into work. It is something that is as meditative as it is practical. So, when you sit down, knoll your tools, then go do something. Come back, and when you come back, it's not going to be stressful for you to walk back in to that shop. Whereas if everything's just kind of in a pile, you get what's this? Do I need this? I don't know if I need that. It's stressful because then you have to go through all that mental work of looking at everything again. Whereas if you knoll before you work, it just makes your whole day more efficient, faster, and less cumbersome. And a good practice to get into that I cannot say that I'm in, even though I should be, is knolling before you leave your shop. Because if you do that before you leave, when you come back in the morning, you don't have to do it. It's already done. You can just get into your flow state. But yeah, it is a fascinating and fantastic practice to get into. That's a bit of an aside, but there we are. Knoll everything. So before I jump into how to do your listing, I do want to say that for those of you who saw the live stream this weekend, I have these. I bought these stitching chisels off of Weaver, and this is what they look like here. Let me go over to my other screen so I can see what I'm actually showing you. And this is what they look like: stitching irons. Please excuse the black gunk that's on them. That is some beeswax. I saw a tip on you rub beeswax on it, then you heat it up with a lighter, and it glides in and out of the work easier, and it really does. It also makes the stitching easier because as you're punching the holes, you're pre-lubricating them with some beeswax. So that is a practice I'm going to be in. But anyways, this is what they look like. This diamond pattern here. And the set came with a, what is this? A 6, a 2, and a 4. Wish it came with a 1, but well, now I'm gonna have a 1 because middle of the live stream, this happened. Just snapped right off. 2 of them. Regular use. I wasn't abusing them or anything. So I was kind of pissy, very upset because I just bought them. Second time I used them, anger making. So I was pissed all weekend. I get over to I didn't want to call anyone when I was angry. That never ends well, and it's not their fault. Customer service didn't break my tools. And then Sunday happened, and I tried my best to stay away from any semblance of work on Sundays. So yesterday came around. I did do my live stream. I did my live stream, went up, showered, shaved, had lunch, came downstairs and started making my phone calls. Called Weaver up, and I explained, it happened in the live stream. It's pretty embarrassing. I just bought these. It was the second time I'm using them. I'm not abusing them. And they said, no problem. We'll ship one right out to you. As soon as the order comes in, we'll send it right to you. So I was very happy, very pleased with them. Great company, very, very polite people, very professional. I'm very happy with them. Especially to have that kind of a customer service experience in the middle of a global pandemic. You know, that really does speak to them and their company. So if you guys are watching, or even better, if Chuck Dorset's watching, thank you. I appreciate your company, and I will be doing business with you guys in the future. Actually, very near future, because I am almost out of thread. My black is almost gone, my brown is pretty much gone, and my white is obliterated. So I think I'll be ordering some thicker leather. I think I'll be ordering some the Stitch and Groover, what else did I say? The Edge Beveler, some gum trag, and some thread. So another order, another package to wait for. It's like I tease myself with these packages too. So let's see who's in here. Should be 4 of us. Okay. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of what we're doing here. And we will use the Stinger transition. Let's see, Eileen, road trip. Well, Ohio will be opening up retail on May 11th, so I can make a trip to their store. You know what? I definitely would. And if you can, tell them that I sent you. You're not going to get anything special for it, but might make me look a little bit better. Okay, so to-do lists. What are some things I have to do today? Live stream, coffee, let's see, live stream, coffee, walk, clean car, cook, dishes. What else do I have to do to get today, guys? You know, don't have to worry about those two. Let's see. What else? Oh, website. Rub your wife's feet. Yeah, probably, but we'll see. That should be a to-do for Rich. Live stream, coffee, walk, clean car, website, and stocks. Okay, so I mean nothing crazy. So let's start getting these. Don't touch my feet, I hate it. Oh, Eileen, now you're just opening yourself up for problems. All right, so that's the initial list, just a brain dump of what is supposed to happen today, what's in your brain. So dump over. Usually I put this on a separate set of separate page, and then I put list title. And date. Just as a habit, so I know what I'm doing and when this list was from. And this is like a daily to-do list. let's say. So this is very basic. And if you want, I can actually go into a more in-depth one that I do for like a project. It'll just be a make-believe project, but it'll give you, a pretty good idea of how I do things and how I think through things and process. So in order, of what I have to do here, what do I have to do? First thing is coffee. So I make a little square and I put a line through it. And I put the title. Title would be, the brain dump number 1 here. So we go coffee. What do I have to do to make the coffee? Clean pot. Clean grounds. Fill tank. Open Bailey's. Clean mug. And each of those also gets its own little box with a line. It's simple. So next thing to do, live stream. All right, my first thing today was set up camera. Because I have this new, well, not new, but I found my my webcam. So set up camera. All right, set up key. Clean space. Go live. And then clean car. Move to driveway. Clear trash. Clean glass. Check fluids. And that's as far as I'm going to go on this, but you see that each one of these has a box around them. So this is how you start your day. Or, even better, this is how you end your night. You null your workspace, then you sit down and you do your list for tomorrow. So I get up, I grab my list from the night before. First thing, coffee. So I take it and I fill in half the square. Half the square in progress. So clean pot. All right, pot's clean. Clean grounds. Fill tank. So while the tank is being filled, I'm going to go open the Bailey's. Only half a square. Actually, I'm going to fill that square in. This one's still half. And let's say I get distracted. I walk away. Or, my kid starts crying or the dogs are, barking to get let out, whatever. I can come back. Oh, okay. I still have to clean my mug. All right, mug's clean. Tank is full. All right, and coffee's done. I have to go to the bathroom. And then I get a phone call. I come back. Oh, what do I have to do today? Okay. These two left. So let's do the live stream. All right. Get my camera set up. While that's booting, I'll get my key. And while all that's going on, I will clean my space. Come back. Okay, camera check is good. I still have to clean. Let me go get my coffee. All right, coffee's back. All right, setup key. Key's not working. All right. Well, I can't go live till I get the key done. Okay. All right, key's working now. Go live, and live stream is done. So, as you come in, you get to come back, you get to look at your list, see exactly where you are. And if you have a problem with motivation, seeing those boxes get filled in not only gives you a very instant visual cue of where you are, it's how fast you're going through it. Now, this could be a list for a day, or this could be a 3-week long list of different projects you have going on. So you can visually see which ones are in progress, which ones are done, which ones are close to done. So if you get a phone call in the middle of doing your live stream and a client is asking you about your coffee. Oh yeah, well, I'm on step 3. I have 2 more steps left. It'll be, another 2 days until it's finished. But someone with the car cleaning calls you, yeah, I haven't started it yet. It'll be in progress in a day and a half. And substitute whatever in there you need. And if you're doing long, drawn-out projects, this is a great way to organize your mind, and a great way to have a visual cue, so you get that mental inertia moving. So if you have this done the night before, or if this is a week-long list or a 2-week-long list or a list for the month, it is fantastic. So let me go to a fresh page here. Because this one is super, super important for me. And I was doing something similar ever before I heard of Adam Savage's much improved listing techniques. So let's say I have to build cabinet. So for a project, I title the project first. And then date. Nice and simple. And then I do my brain dump. Okay, plywood, dimensions, let's do finish, capacity, flare on it, and then transport. These are all things that just come first thing to mind when I think of, I'm going to have to build a cabinet. Now, this could be any project, but these are all the things I need to look at. So the first step is research. All right, what do I mean by research? Okay, well, location. Transport goes in here. Dimensions go in here. All right, and then So that will all work there. Oh, capacity also goes in here. Okay, now what goes on here next? Plywood. Let's just call that wood. Big box, little boxes. You know, so we're going to do the shell. Some people call it a carcass. Doors, back, and legs. All right, and then we'll do finish. We'll do sand, and then we'll do 60, 120, 240. And then hand. Nice and easy. And then from sand, we will do finish, and then touch up. All right, and we'll do breakdown. Well, actually, this is transport. Breakdown. And then transport, and then a reassembly. Again, you know, small boxes. And then once it's assembled, these project's over, done. So, nice list, simple, but it gives you everything step by step. So where do you go from there? Well, let's fill in the research, and this is where all this blankness over here comes. So location, transport, how am I going to transport it? What are the dimensions? How big does it have to be? So this is going in my living room. All right, so what colors are my living room? White. So I'm gonna do black finish. Capacity, that's unknown right now. So dimensions, I want it 2 foot by, let's say, 6 foot, and let's say 20 inches. Beautiful. Top of car, I'll transport it on the top of my car, which is going to tell me some things like I can take off doors removable. I need to have my ratchet straps, and then base removable. All right, dimensions, have those done, so I already have it. So capacity, I don't need to figure it out because I already know how big I want it. Beautiful, that's all you need. All right, shell, I'm going to do plywood. Doors are going to be Luan. Back is going to be Luan. Legs are going to be a box with a toe kick. All right, so finish. What type of finish am I going to do? All right, I already set up here I want black, so let's do true black. No epoxy, or no poly. and touch up is just going to be when I do the touch up, I'm just going to rub out with paper. All right, so all right, I already know the location. That's good. I already know how I'm going to transport. I already know how big it is. I know what capacity it is. Research is done. And here are all my research notes. That's exactly what you want. So if you have to walk away for 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever, you have everything in mind. You have everything ready to go. And sometimes I get a lot of projects that I have to do research for, that this part here takes 2 months, 3 months, 5 months. Sometimes I have no idea how long this is going to take. The wood, I usually, once I do get the research part done, that's 1 day. But sometimes, like with the crib, I had to source from 2 different stores, and I had to go to a custom, a custom sawmill to get the legs. The sanding is a pain in the ass, because if you walk away, sometimes you forget where you were. But if you're in the middle of 60 grit, then if you walk away, come back. All right, still 60 grit. Let me grab the 60. But let's say you finish the 60 and finish the 120, 240, and you have to leave the shop for 2 weeks for whatever reason. You go on vacation, someone dies, there's a global pandemic, and you can't get back into your shop for a month and a half. You come back, you say, oh, the cabinet's not finished. Where was I? All right, I got all the wood, that's all done. That's all done. That's all done. That's done. Well, I was in finishing. Okay. Finishing is there. Let me go. Oh, I was hand finishing. Wow, I got that far. Beautiful. All right, let's get wrapped up on that. You finish that, and that takes you the rest of the day. Whatever. You come back. All right. Well, I have to poly it. I already got all my finishing done. That's beautiful. So let's do that. Let's do all the touch-ups. Lovely. And then you're in the middle of transporting, and boom. So no matter whenever you have to leave a project, you know exactly where you were. You have all your notes, all your thoughts handy, and you can do this for any sort of project. From selling something to somebody, you have to you want to pitch this idea to this person, so you have to find out about them, do your research on them, do your research on the project itself. You have to make that cold call. You have to write that quote. You have to email that quote. You have to blah, 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 blah. And you can make these as detailed as you want. You can see how I even step the finish down to finish, sanding, and then the grits of sanding before popping back out. So you can tier this as much as needed. And if this isn't good enough, you find this list is insufficient, write a new one that is more comprehensive or fits the project better, and staple the old one to the new one so you don't lose any of your information. List making, super important. It kind of betrays young Chris, who thought he could just do everything in his mind and never had to worry about it. But once you start writing things out, you become so much more efficient. It takes a lot of stress off your mind, because now that all the thinking is done, you don't have to remember anything, because you know exactly where you are, exactly all your thoughts on paper. So you don't have to stress out about that. You're not going to forget anything because it's all written down. It's all listed, so you know everything step by step by step. And like when I'm doing this for the office, they think it's awesome, because sometimes I have these projects that are 6 month, 8 month long projects, like the MS4 project. Some of those things have been going on. Well, that whole program is as old as I am. So if I just sit down and write down every municipality that we're the engineer for, and then write out, every step that we are, I can tell, and John comes over to me. Hey, Chris, where are we at Vandling? Okay. What about Dixon City? What about this? What about that? All right, we have to do all this testing for IDDE. Where are we at on that? And I can just pull out the list, the master list, or whatever list I have, and I can say, okay, this is where we are here. This is where we are here, 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 here. And there's no thinking involved. There's no, can I get back to you in 20 minutes? I need to look that up for you. No, it's all there. Boom. And when you operate in such a manner, you don't spend your limited mental resources on doing stupid, mundane tasks. And you can reserve your brain power for doing things that are more high level, things that deserve to have your full attention, like the projects you are working on, or your whole day planned out. And once you start getting into the habit, your life becomes so much less stressful. It really does. So my two biggest pieces of advice are know your tools and then write lists, people. I know I sound like an old codger, but let's get over back to the face cam for the live chat and we'll finish talking, I guess. Let's see. I think we were all like young Chris at one point or another. We are. I can't even say that I'm not like that still sometimes. There are some things that I just try and wing, even though I know I shouldn't. And let's see, Laura. List making is so much easier than winging it. As much as winging it is tempting. Yes, it is. It really is. And there are some things that I still wing because that's who I am. I'm not perfect. I'm quite far from it, and I think that's what's entertaining for a lot of you. That I'm a real guy. But I always try my best to push out the best information I can, and I try to follow my advice, even though it doesn't always work. And Joey, and the less thinking, the better. This is true. When you're able to think less about what you're supposed to be doing, and you can focus on how to do it, your life is just so much easier, so much better, so much more efficient, so much less stress. So there. That's how I do lists. And Eileen, I hope that's helpful for you, especially when you start going back to work, and you have 4 commissions and 3 personal projects you want to do. Write those lists out so that when you come home from work, you know exactly where you were, you know exactly what to do, and if Rich is asking about what are you up to, you can just hand him the list and say, this is where I am. I need to get this done by the end of the day. Thank you. The same way I handle the engineers at work. They ask me where I'm at with something. I can pull out the list for that project or for my week, and everyone knows exactly where I'm at. And if I can't touch that project for 4 days, 5 days, a week, I can come back to it and remember exactly where I was, what I was doing, what I still need to do. And I think that's a very valuable tool. It's a very valuable resource to have. Very helpful from Eileen. Thank you. I'm glad that's helpful because it took me a long time to learn it. And then when I read that book, Every Tool's a Hammer, seriously read that book. It just blew my mind. As pathetic as that might seem, it really did blow my mind, and it really made my whole day, my whole week, my whole everything so much better that I kept with the practice. And then after this quarantine is over, when I go back into the office, I'll know exactly where I was and I can pick up immediately because I already have everything, straightened out. My desk is all clean. Everything is wiped down. Everything is clean. So I can walk in. All my paperwork is knolled. So I took the time to put all of my paperwork into nice little stacks and all my pins into their proper place. And it might sound OCD, and it might be a little OCD, but it is so helpful to have that little level of organization that when I come back in, I can pick up my first list and say, okay, this is what I need to do. Where's that project? Right here. Okay, I need to sketch, this part, and this part out. Where are the pens for that? Right here, I need this one, this one, this one. And there is no stress, there's no forgetting, there is no anything. It just helps your life so much. So yeah. It's just so much easier, and it's hard to start because it's a new skill. It's something that you've never done before. So like any skill, it takes practice and perseverance. But once you do it for 1 or 2 weeks, you're never going to stop. And it's not a betrayal of inner you. The betrayal of the child in you who is right now screaming that I hate lists. It's work, it's order. I just want to play. Well, you can't play if you don't know what you're going to do. And when you start to play, you're going to get frustrated and angry that, this isn't where I want it to be. And where is that piece of shit? I knew this fucking tool was over here. I lose things all the goddamn time. Where is that? Blah, 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 blah. Making these lists is giving you permission to play without restraint. You know where all your tools are, all your toys are. You know exactly what you want to do, so you don't even need to think about where you were. You don't really need to remember anything. You can just do. And when you can just do, that is the purest form, I think, of making. And it is the most pleasurable way to be a maker of any sort. And at the end of the day, you just finish off your list, or you write a new one for the next time you're in. You know all your tools and toys. And now you don't even have to worry about trying to remember things, so you can just leave your whole brain there at the shop. Your whole shop brain can stay at the shop, and you don't have to think about a thing. Because you're going to have the peace of mind to know that all your tools and all your toys are going to be nice and lined up in order for you. All your projects are put on hold, like saving in a video game. And you can walk away. And then you can enjoy whatever else life has for you. Because you're not going to be when you're out there, you're not going to be worrying about what you're doing in here. So you can enjoy life a little bit easier, and you can play a little bit longer outside. And then when you come back into your toy room, into your shop, into your she shed, whatever you want to call it, you don't have to stress about trying to find something or trying to remember something, because it's all here. It's all laid out for you. All you have to do is do. And it's not a betrayal of inner you. It's giving inner you a permission to have the kind of fun that you're looking for. That was a bit of a strange, preachy tangent. But, oh goodness gracious, it is already 10 o'clock. So guys, I hope those are 2 very, very helpful tips for you. And this is much less of a conversation than it usually is, and more of a lesson. Yeah, I guess it was more of a lesson than a conversation. So, thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow, and I hope we can have more of a conversation and less of a lesson. But I think it was useful. I think it was helpful, and I think it was needed. So thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. And thank you for helping me make this world better, one kerf at a time. And I'll see you tomorrow morning.